Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero podcast, the show where I cover the least in the best way possible. I'm your host, Jason Wells. Today is Friday, November 8th. Big week of football. We are on the second half of the season now. Playoff races starting to shape up a little bit. Who wants those final wildcard spots in the NFC? Who, out of all of these bad AFC teams, is going to cling on to that final AFC spot? This is where we find out this half of the season. And then, we had the trade deadline that happened. Talked about it a little bit already on Wednesday's show, but I will be fully breaking down every trade, doing the NFL weekly update, covering all the latest news. And then, the blind Thursday night football recap. We finally got a good-looking game, on paper anyways, between the Ravens and Bengals. It'll be a good episode. Lots to talk about here. I don't know. The Dolphins, will they break my heart again? Will we have another crushing loss where we could have won? And either way, we'll talk about the Dolphins game when we talk about the Dolphins game, because that'll be a fun one. Dolphins in prime time, gotta enjoy that. But let's get right into the NFL weekly update. Starting off with the injuries here. Lloyd Cushenberry, the Titans center, one of the funnest isn't a word, one of the more fun names in the NFL. He's unfortunately out with an Achilles injury, out for the rest of the year. Chris Olave, out with a concussion. Obviously, hope that he's okay, because he's had a couple bad concussions from Derek Carr hospital balls. Darnell Wright, the Bears tackle, he is out. He has an MCL sprain right now. I think he's week to week at this point. Quandre Diggs, the Titans safety, has a Liz Frank injury. He's out for the rest of the year. Dak Prescott goes on IR with a hamstring injury. That's not great for the Cowboys, but here we are. Will Reichard, the Vikings kicker, he is out for the year. Didn't disclose what his injury was. Didn't really care to look up what his injury was, but Vikings kicker done for the year. Keon Coleman looking like he's trending towards being out this week with a wrist injury, so something to monitor there. And then Texans guard Kenyon Green out for the year with a shoulder injury. He was having a tough season to begin with, but you never want to see someone's season end. And let's get into this NFL weekly update. Let's get into this trade deadline talk, because it was a active trade deadline, and I talked about it a little bit on Wednesday's show, but I enjoy so much that these NFL GMs are actually open to shopping players and acquiring picks, trading their own picks away to try to get better. Because the NFL trade deadline used to mean absolutely nothing. It was just another day in the calendar. Now GMs actually care and try to make moves. I love that for the NFL. It makes it way more exciting to talk about. Gives me more to talk about in general, but let's get into these trades. Starting off with the most notable one, Marshawn Lattimore goes to the Commanders. Marshawn Lattimore and a 2025 fifth go to the Commanders for a 2025 3, 2025 4, and a 2026 sixth. Good trade for the Commanders, who are clearly in a we're going to win, or their playoff window and Super Bowl window has been opened. The secondary has been a huge weak spot for them. They've invested a lot into that secondary through the draft with guys like Ben St. Juste, Emmanuel Forbes, unfortunately, and then Mike Saintsdrill this past year. They got Noah Igbenogany, who was the Dolphins' former first-round pick, playing reps. Good for him for seeing the field, but Lattimore is a proven very good corner in this league and has been a great corner in the league since basically his rookie year in 2017. Great move for the Commanders and Dan Quinn to get someone of his talent too. Because again, the Commanders are in the driver's seat for the division, and they are in the driver's seat for one of those wildcard spots, and he can see that this defense is a little weaker. Their pass rush has been okay, but let's get a proven number one corner there. Helps out a lot, and I think this is a good move for the Commanders and for the Commanders' future, because pretty sure with Lattimore's contract, he's there for the next couple years anyway, so Good move for the Commies. Saints on the other side. You need to, again, I think going into next season, this was before this trade, but I think they were minus 79 million in cap space right now. So they alleviated a little bit of that. They still need to do a bunch else to try to figure it out, but it's a move that they needed to make. I'm shocked that Lattimore was the only one that was traded off this Saints team. I thought there was maybe a couple more moves that they could make. And we'll talk about more about the Saints' outlook and future in a bit because they also fired their coach. Next trade here. Also, before I get to the next trade, I might start doing an counter for myself. Again, I just did it. I try not to do it because it's just a filler and it's not nice to listen to. I know it's not nice to listen to, but I'm going to try to start thinking about not saying or whatever because I want to get better and it needs to sound better. And the professionals, the pros, they don't have those filler words. So just letting you guys know that I'm trying to think about it, trying to get better at it. Because, of course, this is my third season doing it now. And I think every year I have been getting better. But that's the next thing, the next big thing that I want to try to get better at. So just keep myself accountable. I think I am going to start an counter just because I think it's funny. I might have to get one of the counter things. I don't know what they are, but either way. See, again, I just did it. That's one. I mean, there's been more than one so far. But Zadarius Smith traded to the Lions for, I keep doing this, Zadarius Smith and a 2026 7th get traded to the Lions for a 2025 5th and a 2026 6th. A move that the Lions needed to make. They get a pass rusher. Now Zadarius Smith, obviously older, back end of his career, still a very productive player. Not Aiden Hutchinson, obviously, but he fits the mold and the identity of what the Lions do. Guy plays hard. He fits the culture there in Detroit. I think this is a great move for a team that's interior anyways with DJ Reader and Aleem McNeil. Their run stopping is great. If they can just get some consistent pass rushing help, that's Zadarius Smith. This is a very good move for the Lions to bolster up that defense, and that defense that is already playing well. Browns on the other side. Again, a move that you needed to make. You are in a sell now mode. You see what the Saints are doing, and you see how poorly the Saints have been managed. You've got one massive contract where next season will be the big, or this offseason will be the big test to see which direction the Browns are going to go, because they should let go of the nasty man, but beside that, they need more young talent, influx of talent. Zadarius Smith was probably going to be gone next year anyways, so yeah, Browns get some couple later round picks, Lions get immediate help, win-win for both sides. Next trade here, Preston Smith goes to the Steelers for a 7th round pick. Apparently, this was a trade that Preston Smith requested from the Packers. They changed their scheme, and he thought that he doesn't really fit what the Packers are doing right now. I think they're running kind of like a 4-3 base, so Preston Smith, who's usually an outside linebacker, was lining up on defensive end, and there's really not much of a difference, but he thought that the scheme wasn't good for him. So he goes to the Steelers, where he now joins that elite pass rush rotation of TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Nick Herbig, one of the Herbigs, either way. There's that again. But TJ Watt, again, he's the third, fourth pass rusher on that team. That's insane depth. TJ Watt gets a little tired. Now you got to go against Preston Smith. The offensive line doesn't get a break against the Steelers. Packers on the other end of it. Good on them for being because Preston Smith was one of their starters, I believe, or at least in that rotation of starters there. But it's Lucas Van Ness time. Lucas Van Ness, their 1st round pick from a year ago. This is his shut up, prove it time. He's been good. He has been playing well, but now he's in a much more prominent role. So interested to see how it plays out for the Packers, and a Packers team that should be in the playoffs, should be pushing for a playoff spot by the end of the year, but good for the Steelers to get that extra pass rush help there. Pass rush help is always needed. Khalil Herbert, the Bears running back, goes to Cincinnati for a 2025 seventh round pick. With Zach Moss being hurt, Bengals needed some running back help. Khalil Herbert, who has done absolutely nothing for the Bears this entire season, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Khalil Herbert has been a very productive back. He just, for some reason, wasn't getting touches. DeAndre Swift, I guess, plays his role that the Bears want, so wasn't really needed. Roshan Johnson's getting more touches now, so new change of scenery for Herbert, and I think Herbert is a good back, and this is a good move for the Bengals. I don't think it really matters much in the scheme of their offense. Like, it's going to be Herbert, it's going to be Chase Brown, it's going to be mainly Chase Brown, but Khalil Herbert, that's a solid add. Bears, you got a seventh, I guess. You probably won't be making those picks maybe next year, but we can move on. The Jets get rid of Mike Williams for a 2025 fifth. Mike Williams goes to the Steelers, so Steelers make two vet additions here. So now Russell Wilson has two guys on opposite ends to catch his go balls. That's what Mike Williams is best at, is hitting those jump ball contested catch things, and that is Russ's best throw at the moment. So the Steelers have been in the wide receiver market for basically since the start of the offseason, haven't been able to find someone else to really pair up with them. So now they get Mike Williams, who hasn't had like a terrific season, but again, neither have the Jets. And when you add Devontae Adams and he becomes the third receiver, and Alan Lazard was maybe already that second, third guy for them, it's easy to see why the Jets would get rid of him, but he goes to the Steelers, where clearly George Pickens is number one, and then they have Calvin Austin and Van Jefferson. I would say Mike Williams is their wide receiver too, but those three guys are going to be on the rotation, but at least, again, George Pickens won't be the only deep threat that people really have to worry about, because Mike Williams can get that jump ball too. Baron Browning goes to the Cardinals for a 2025 sixth. If you don't know the name Baron Browning, I don't blame you. Was a Broncos edge rusher that kind of fell out of favor with them. The other guys, like Jonathan Cooper, who got a big contract, which we'll talk about very shortly. But guys like Jonathan Cooper, and I forget their other edge rusher there. Is it Ellis? Is it something Ellis? AJ Ellis out of Utah? Jonah Ellis, maybe. Either way. Fell out of favor, and the Cardinals, who need pass rush help badly, see a guy who can give them maybe a little bit of a boost, someone who they might have on their team for the future at a lower contract. Good move for the Cardinals in general, but we can keep going. Kind of a meaningless trade here, but Tre'Davious White goes from the LA Rams to the Baltimore Ravens for a 2026 seventh round pick. This is just a depth move for the Ravens. He wasn't even playing for the Rams, so good that they got anything for him. But Trey White is still one of those players where you know that the talent was there, and he had his all-pro years, maybe all-pro years. Either way, he was tremendous when he was in his prime. And you hope that, he can't get back to it. He's had so many injuries, but you would think that he could play solid football in the right scheme. There's no pressure for him to play. He's going to be behind guys like Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, Brandon Stevens. But if he can get into the rotation, into the mix, and not look absolutely terrible, and the Ravens do put their guys in spots where they know that they can win, basically. Most defenses should do that, but either way, it's a nothing trade. Trey White's a name. Trey White's going to be their fourth, fifth corner, maybe. It's depth. Good depth, kind of, for the Ravens. They needed help in their secondary. We'll leave it at that. Khalil Davis goes to the Niners for a 2026 seventh. Another name, another trade, doesn't really mean much. Khalil Davis is not someone I'm usually... I know he was like a backup defensive tackle on the Texans, gets traded to the Niners, where he teams back up with former teammate Malik Collins. Again, it's a depth move for the Niners, who need help on that interior with Javon Hargrave being out. Not much on this. And then finally, The worst trade of the trade deadline. Jonathan Mingo and a 2025 seventh go to the Cowboys for a 2025 fourth. So Jonathan Mingo just got traded for a fourth round pick, which is the same or less compensation than DeAndre Hopkins, Deontay Johnson. It was the same compensation as Amari Cooper, and I think Amari Cooper is like conditional wise. And either way, Jonathan Mingo, not a good receiver. And if you don't know the name Jonathan Mingo, I don't blame you. He was the Panthers' second round pick last year. Didn't do anything for the Panthers last year, but then again, no one did anything for the Panthers last year. So you give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit, but then you start looking at his advanced stats. He has dropped the ball. I think he drops the ball like 5% of the time, which doesn't sound that bad, but that's one of the worst marks this century from a wide receiver. He doesn't separate. His one highlight that I know from him is he has a wide open catch on the sideline and he decides to like spin around and go out ass first and not keep his feet in. Again, it's one of the weirdest plays. You should look it up. It's very, very funny. But Jerry being Jerry, Ari Mayrov tweeted out that, oh, the Cowboys are looking into a receiver that they've liked for a long time. Turns out it's Jonathan Mingo. Doesn't make a lot of sense, especially giving up a fourth round pick is a good pick. Like, you can find a lot of talented players in the fourth round, but no, they give up their fourth round pick for a receiver that couldn't get catches in this group with like Xavier Leggett, Jalen Coker, Adam Thielen. Like, he's not battling like juggernaut guys in Carolina for reps. Like, that's not the issue here. I don't think he's that talented. And now the Cowboys give up a fourth round pick when they should be rebuilding, retooling. They should be selling off guys, not buying. I don't know. Like, at best, I don't know what Brandon Cook's like timeline for him maybe coming back, but like CeeDee Lamb's obviously better. Jalen Tolbert's better. Brandon Cooks is better. So you just gave up a fourth round pick for maybe your wide receiver 4. That's bad business, but that's all the Cowboys have been doing lately is a lot of bad business. What else is new? Bad trade for the Cowboys. We get some extensions here. Jonathan Cooper, who I mentioned, a 4-year, $60 million deal, 33 of that guaranteed. One of those players that people don't really know because he plays for Denver and he doesn't put up monster numbers, but he's a solid edge rusher. I think he has 5.5 sacks so far on the season. And part of the reason why that Denver defense is playing so well is because of Jonathan Cooper. I can't really say much about him as a player because why would I watch Denver games other than if they're on my TV because they're a primetime game? But this is a good low-key signing for the Broncos. Next signing here, Chuba Hubbard, 4-year, $33 million deal, 15 of that guaranteed. Absolutely love the deal. And absolutely love it for a couple reasons. One, Chuba Hubbard, Canadian boy. Didn't know he was from Edmonton, Alberta, so that's a new thing. Usually the NFL players are BC or like the GTA area, so getting a guy from Edmonton, shout out to Edmonton, I guess. But a lot of people mad about the Chuba Hubbard deal and how like their draft allocation, just asset management has been. People are being like, oh, they gave Miles Sanders a 4-year, whatever that deal was. Miles Sanders is irrelevant. He's going to get cut this offseason. I don't think it really affects their cap too much. Miles Sanders, out of the equation, doesn't matter. The other thing people could get mad at is they spent a second-round pick on Jonathan Brooks this offseason. Jonathan Brooks hasn't played, just was activated. So we'll see. And it's like, oh, well, why would you pay Miles Sanders, then pay Chuba Hubbard? Or actually, it was pay Miles Sanders, draft Jonathan Brooks, then pay Chuba. The Panthers are looking for any kind of identity right now, especially on offense, because they do not have one. Their offensive line has looked pretty damn good, if we're being honest. There's still some issues, but they're playing well as a unit, and that's really important. Chuba Hubbard has looked great. He deserves this contract. And Jonathan Brooks, nothing wrong with a very good running back tandem. Hell, that's what the Panthers had for quite a while when it was Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams. If you want your identity to run the ball, I like Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks to be two guys to do it. Figure out the passing game later. We don't know what the quarterback's going to go into, but if you can find if maybe Bryce Young is the guy again next year if he plays well down the second half stretch, or they draft someone else, bring in a vet, having a good offensive line and a very good run game does miles for the offense. It's a very good thing to have. Obviously, we see how well it's working out for the Lions right now with their duo. Not saying that Chuba and Brooks is going to be the next Gibbs and Monty, but I like this duo a lot. I'm interested to see how Brooks does get used down the stretch here. But to me, if the Panthers want their identity to be run the football, why not have two great backs? That's just my 2 cents on it anyways. I like the deal. Staying in the NFC South here, Dennis Allen does get fired, finally. One of the worst coaches in the NFL, and for a while. That's the second time now that Derek Carr has gotten him fired, which is just funny. But the Saints now talked about it a little bit, but they are in cap hell still. They don't have any really young, good assets. Chris Olave might want out. And the question is, who wants this job? Because it should be a very short list of people who don't want it. Because again, you're going to be tied to all of the mistakes that the Saints have made with their cap for the next 2-3 years. The talent pool isn't really great. Your number one wide receiver might want to trade or just might be thinking about retirement in general with his concussion issues. The Saints are a bad job to take right now. I don't know why anyone would want it, and that's why I kind of thought that, hey, maybe the Saints are just going to kind of let Dennis Allen run the course for the next 2 years, and then when they finally get some financial flexibility, then they find their new coach. But I hope that whoever the Saints hire, they don't rush it, because that coach minimum needs to be there for 4 years, in my opinion, to really get his stamp on the team. So in terms of job security, I guess it might be fairly high because the first 2-3 years basically aren't your fault because the team has been so mismanaged in general, and maybe Mickey Loomis should be on the hot seat. I don't know. Dennis Allen, though, not a good coach. Reason he's gone. Interested to see who does take that Saints job. Maybe former Saints player Aaron Glenn. He's the Lions defensive coordinator right now. He has that unit playing well. That's a name to maybe look out for. And then finally here we have a retirement. Big Brandon Williams of the Ravens announces his retirement. A 12-year career in the league. One-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion with the Chiefs in that 2022 year. Brandon Williams was just solid. He was one of those nose tackles where, again, when you're 6'1", 340, you're just hard to move. I tried to look up, highlights of him, and the only highlights I really found were his dance moves on the sideline or in the locker room. Seemed like a fun guy to just be around, but was a very good player in his own right. And it is crazy because he is a nose tackle where you see his stats, and his stats are good for a nose tackle. They're fine. And then you see a guy like Dexter Lawrence, who is just oh my God, the best. I'm not going to stop shutting up about Dexter Lawrence. He is phenomenal. But shout out to Brandon Williams. Hell of a career. Super Bowl champion. That's awesome. Yeah, that is it for the NFL Weekly Update. We can get into the blind Thursday Night Football recap here. Bengals and Ravens, the matchup that feels like it shouldn't have been a Thursday Night Football game, but hey, I will take any matchup that isn't the... what were some bad ones this year? Saints-Broncos was absolutely terrible, so we get a good one. Hallelujah. Does not feel like a Thursday Night Football matchup, but without T. Higgins in the lineup, there was nothing really that the Bengals could do. Ravens D was able to relatively shut down the Bengals. The Ravens offense, as always, they looked good. Derrick Henry killing it. Lamar Jackson killing it. And we got to see Deontay Johnson come alive just a little bit, see how he'd get used in this offense. Nice to see him get going. Keaton Mitchell made his long-awaited return, scoring a touchdown in this one. But at the end of the day, the Ravens are just simply the better team. Bengals Bengals offense couldn't keep up enough in this one, and their defense just got gashed like it typically does. Final score in this one, Ravens 27, Bengals 17. That is your blind Thursday night football recap. And let's get into the Week 10 preview here, starting off with the early morning game, the game in Munich. The number 30 ranked Panthers versus the number 26 ranked Giants. Giants minus 6.5, total set of 40.5. People need a reason to get up and watch this game if you're not a Panthers or a Giants fan. And even if you are a fan of those teams, you still need reasons to get up and watch this. So I'll lay out a couple here. Dexter Lawrence, first and foremost, one of the best defensive players in the league. He just deserves watching in general. Then we get guys like even on that defensive line. Brian Burns has looked very good. The Giants' defense in general, you get to see Malik Neighbors. Tyrone Tracy's been having a very good rookie year. But again, not really selling it. On the Panthers side, I want to see what Jonathan Brooks and Chuba Hubbard look like together. I don't know how much Jonathan Brooks is really going to play, but I'm interested to see what that duo can do. And can we get back-to-back good Bryce Young performances? Maybe even back-to-back wins. That would be absolutely insane. It would be tough for me because I think the Giants have the better coaching because I love Brian Dable, but don't count out Dave Canales. I do think he is a good coach. And I think this Panthers team is playing with like a weird amount of confidence, but their defense is just so bad. And I just think I look at those two defensive units, one who I think actually has a good defense and the other one who has one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And that is the difference at the end of the day. All the Panthers could hope for at the end of the day is their young players play well with Bryce, Leggett, Coker, Sanders, Brooks. Those guys play well. That's all you want to see from the Panthers at this point. Is just your young players that you've invested in. You want to see them doing well. Giants on the other side run Daniel Jones into the ground until he can't play anymore because he probably won't be playing anymore after this season anyways. Taking the Giants in this one, but Europe games are weird. Both teams, they got jet lag. They're playing in weird places, practicing in weird places. So this is kind of a coin flip for me, but Giants should win this one. On to the Sunday afternoon games here. The number 7 49ers go off against the number 15 Bucks. Niners minus 6, total set of 50.5. The Bucks coming off a short week. They had the Monday Night Football game, a overtime game, so played a little bit more football than they usually do. They're going to be tired, and they're playing against a Niners team who is fresh off the bye, getting healthy again. I think Juwan Jennings should be playing in this one. Christian McCaffrey should be making his return. The Niners should win. The Bucks have been playing hard, good football all season, but this seems like a game, especially Bucks short week with the Niners coming off the bye, that the Niners should roll them. Liam Cohen has been calling great football, and I'm interested to see how he does it against the Niners defense, but Niners at the end of the day are just simply the better team. Interested to see how much of a fight the Bucks put up, but I am on the Niners in this one. Next game here, NFC South divisional matchup. The number 9 ranked Falcons against the number 31 ranked Saints. Falcons minus 3.5. Total set of 46.5. The Falcons are just better. And especially now that the Saints have traded away their number 1 corner. Kool-Aid McKinstry needs to step up. Paulson Adebo, who's been there for a while, I guess he becomes their de facto number 1 corner. But Kool-Aid will be the guy getting tested a bunch in this game, I imagine. But Drake London should be good to go. His hip injury was a little worrisome, but I think he's day-to-day. He'll be fine in this one. And the Saints don't have the defense to match up to stop the Falcons. And the Saints offense sucks. Again, Olave is out. Throwing to Bub Means and Juwan Johnson, who Derek Carr also tried to kill last week with Kamara. It's not good. Oh, I guess the other thing I should have mentioned about the Saints. So the Saints, before Dennis Allen got fired, his last act was to put Keandre Miller on IR with a hamstring injury. by all accounts, Keandre Miller is fine, and the only reason Dennis Allen put him on IR was for risk of further injury. Dennis Allen has had some weird beef with Keandre Miller basically this entire season, entire offseason, and I don't get it. Because the coaches right now, I should have also mentioned that Darren Rizzi, the special teams coach, is now their interim head coach. That's an interesting one. But yeah, all of the coaches right now for the Saints are like, Keandre is healthy. We wish that we could be using him right now. But no, Dennis Allen kind of spite put him on IR just before he left. So, I don't know, weird vibes for the Saints, but this seems like the Falcons are going to pick them apart without Lattimore there. He's been their best defender for, I mean, maybe not the last 7 years, because Cam Jordan was also really good for a lot of those years, but one of their better defenders, probably one of their locker room leaders, and I'm sure that this defense will take that hit this game. Next one up, the number 20 ranked Broncos against the number 1 ranked Chiefs. Chiefs -8, total set at 42.5. The Chiefs are going to win. I think it's as simple as that. The Broncos, they've had, again, it's been a nice story so far, but, you're not that good. You're in a wild card spot, and you do kind of control your own destiny here. You got a couple key matchups coming up, but, you can't run the ball very well. You can't throw the ball deep very well. This Chiefs defense is awesome. The Chiefs offense is good enough to score enough points. Again, the Chiefs have been weird and haven't really been playing perfect football that people expect from them, but they are good enough. Again, Chiefs -8, I don't know, but the Chiefs are going to win this one. I am confident about that. Keep going here. The number 4 ranked Bills against the number 23 ranked Colts. Bills -4, total set of 47.5. This feels like a little bit of a trap game. Just because, again, the Bills are great. They've been playing very good football basically all season. And the Colts have been up and down, not really that great. They don't have the quarterback play. The defense has not been good. And it seems like a game where it should be the Bills by -6, 6.5, maybe something like that. So, and I think I've seen this line bounce to 3.5. So it's -4. That's what I wrote down. That's what I'm going with here. But this is a game where the Bills go to Indy. It's an away game, knowing that they have the Chiefs next week on the schedule. And they might be already looking ahead to that one and being like, the Colts, whatever. We're going to kick their ass, and then we'll focus on the Chiefs. But some of them are probably already focusing on the Chiefs already, which the Bills are due for a slip-up. And it's the same way, and I can talk about it with the Chiefs. The Chiefs are also due for a slip-up just because, well, at least with the Chiefs, they haven't been playing excellent football where the Bills kind of have, but the Bills have been, I don't know. Again, I think that the Bills are going to win, but just tread cautiously with this one because I think that the Colts could come out of nowhere and play better football than people are expecting. Next game here, my number 8 ranked Steelers against the number 12 Commanders. Commanders -2.5, total set at 45.5. Okay, I have waited to November, and I have waited past Halloween. This is time to bet against the Commanders. Cliff Kingsbury in the second half of seasons, not good. Very bad track record on offense. I mean, hell, he had those offenses with Kyler where Kyler looks like an MVP candidate for the first half of the year, and all of a sudden injuries fall off a cliff, yada, yada, yada. I'm following that same trend. And I just like the Steelers in this one in general. The Commanders have not had to face this elite of a defense so far this year, and that's what the Steelers defense is. It is elite. They are going to get after Jaden in this one with all of their pass rushers and their defensive line. The secondary is still very good as well. And even with the addition of Marshawn Lattimore for the Commanders on the defensive side, I don't think it really matters because I think that the Steelers, again, their defense is good enough. They're going to be able to stop Jaden Daniels in the offense, which has been very, very hard to do, but I believe in TJ Watt. Duh. And then, the Steelers, again, I like Mike Tomlin. I like the Steelers. I like the Steelers roster much, much more, and Steelers coaching staff much, much more than I do for the Commanders, so I am all over the Steelers in this one. Next game here, the number 6 ranked Vikings against the number 25 ranked Jaguars. Vikings -7, total set of 44.5. So, big game here for... I mean, it's really not a big game. The Vikings should win this one. And I guess the big storyline, anyways, is Trevor Lawrence might be done. Not like done. He's not the Jags quarterback anymore, obviously. They gave him a shit ton of money. But Trevor Lawrence might not play. I think Ian Rappaport said he's likely not going to play in this one. And they might just shut him down for the season in general, which could mean McCorkle Jones is back starting in this league, which would be fun anyways. I'd love to see what Mac Jones does in this offense and how he looks. And it's not a bad move for the Jags in general. Wait, let me just do 21, 22, 23. Never mind. Mac Jones is on the last year of his deal, so unless they franchise tag him, which would be ridiculously stupid, they would not be in a position to trade him anyways, because I was going to say, oh, maybe if you do shut Trevor Lawrence down and you have Mac Jones, and Mac Jones plays like pretty decent football, where someone could be like, oh, I'll give you a 4th round pick for Mac Jones to be my backup, or maybe even compete for like... he can be the bridge quarterback for whatever young quarterback or whatever QB situation's going on. But he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year anyways, so it doesn't really matter. But this is the time for Mac to make himself money in this league to prove that he can be an NFL quarterback, an NFL backup anyways. Maybe a starter. Hey, we've seen a lot of redemption stories recently, but the Vikings should roll. They're the better coach team. They have the better offense. They have the better defense. Just literally everything points towards the Vikings being the absolute better team in this one. So why should I not pick the Vikings? Which no one's telling me to not pick the Vikings, but the Vikings are going to win. Simple as that. Number 29 ranked Patriots against the number 22 ranked Bears. Bears -6.5. Total set of 38.5. The Bears are not a bad team, because they're a talented team, but they're coached very, very poorly, and I think it's as simple as that. Where the Patriots, on the other side, they're not a talented team, and I don't think they're coached that great either, but Drake May is a lot of fun, and that's just kind of my argument for the Patriots in this one. Drake May is fun to watch. The Bears need a big bounce back, like just in general for morale. DJ Moore said that he doesn't think that Matt Eberflus has lost the locker room. Just very funny to phrase it that way, but I don't know what the Bears do at this point. Like, they needed this again. This should be an easy win for the Bears, but the Pats are pesky anyways. We can leave it at that. The number 28 Titans go against the number 14th ranked Chargers. Chargers -6.5. Total set of 38.5. Yeah, this is just going to be a defensive matchup where the very okay Chargers offense goes against a pretty good Titans defense, and then the good Chargers defense goes against a very okay offense again. I mean, worse than the Chargers, obviously, when we're doing okay offenses, but the Titans can run the ball. Yeah, the Titans can run the ball well. That's basically it. Tony Pollard's looked good. Again, the Chargers should win this one. This should be an easy matchup for them. They're the better team, better coach team anyways. But Titans defense is good. And I think this, again, it's a low total. It's 38.5. This should be a low-scoring game. And low-scoring games, usually that means that the teams are pretty close together score-wise. So maybe Titans +6.5, +7 if it gets there is tempting, because this could be like a 14-21 game. That doesn't cover the spread. What am I saying? Either way, not a very interesting game, but the Chargers should continue to roll these bad teams that they keep playing every single week. Next game here, the number 11 ranked Eagles against the number 27th ranked Cowboys. Eagles -7, total set at 43.5. Cooper Rush is the starter for the Cowboys, and that's all I need to really tell you. This Eagles team is one of the most talented teams in the NFL, far and away. They're just coached by an idiot, unfortunately, who constantly makes the wrong decision. But lucky for them, this really talented team that's getting coached by an idiot is playing against a very untalented team coached by an idiot. So, yeah, I think that the Eagles walk them. A.J. Brown is questionable to play in this one, which typically when A.J. Brown doesn't play for the Eagles, their offense kind of doesn't fall apart, but it just doesn't look good. So, like, maybe the Cowboys can keep up, but Cowboys, no run game. Cooper Rush is Cooper Rush. Like, who are we kidding? The defense is not good. Micah Parsons should be back. I'm expecting him to be back, but I don't think he makes enough of a difference to really turn this defense around. I do think the Eagles are going to win by more than 7 in this one, especially if A.J. Brown does play. If A.J. Brown's out, maybe not, but we can keep moving on, though. Next game up, the number 21 ranked Jets versus the number 18 ranked Cardinals. Jets minus 1.5, total set of 46.5. This is, I say it's make or break for the Jets, but when you're looking at these games and the teams that are in the wild card hunt, like the Broncos should lose to the Chiefs, the Colts should lose to the Bills. What was the other one here? Colts, Broncos. I think the Chargers are going to make the playoffs anyways. Oh, yeah, and then the Bengals. I think the Bengals are going to lose to the Ravens. So there's a world where even if the Jets do lose this game, the whole landscape of the wild card race doesn't change, and they're 2 games behind anyways. But this is a game that they need to win, and this is, on paper, it's an inferior opponent that they're going against, but I said it on the Wednesday show where I believe in the Cardinals in the second half of the season. I'm very interested to see how it gets played. Kyler is very hard to stop. Marv versus Sauce Gardner should be an interesting matchup. But the Jets need to win this game. Just not in terms of them staying in the wild card race, they need to win this game, but just morally, the Jets need to win this game. For their vibes for the rest of the season, the Jets need this one way more than the Cardinals do. Should be fun. Just on paper, the Jets' offense is so much better than the Cardinals' defense, but it's not going to be. This game is going to be weird. The Jets should win, and the Jets should win by a decent amount, but the Jets are dysfunctional, poorly run team, and that really matters at the end of the day. Sunday Night Football here, the number 2 ranked Lions versus the number 10 ranked Texans. Lions minus 3.5, total set of 48.5. I thought Nico Collins was going to be back in this one, and that Nico Collins, he's looking doubtful according to Field Yates, and Will Anderson also doesn't look like he might be playing. So I looked for this might be a trap line for the Lions. Maybe their defense gets caught and Nico goes off, and the Texans defense shuts down the Lions. But without Nico Collins, without Will Anderson, the Lions are going to continue to do what they have done the entire season so far and just steamroll teams. The Texans' offense has looked bad these last few weeks without Nico, without Diggs. It's tough when Tank Dell is your number 1 receiver, and he's played pretty damn well, but Joe Mixon carrying the offense, I don't know if he's going to be able to do it against DJ Reader and Ali McNeil. I guess we'll see, but with no Will Anderson, with no Nico Collins, the Lions should kick their ass. Definitely on the Lions in this one. And finally, last game here, Monday Night Football, the number 19 ranked Dolphins against the number 13 ranked Rams. Rams minus 1, total set at 50.5. Big news for the Rams anyways. They are getting center Steve Avila and guard Jonah Jackson back. Jonah Jackson? Jonah Williams? Jonah Jackson. Yeah, the Lions. Yeah, Jonah Jackson. Either way, they're getting 2 of their starting offensive linemen back. That is absolutely huge. And their offense looks like it's full cylinder again. Puka healthy, Kupp healthy, Kyron Williams still good. That offensive line getting healthy. It's going to be very tough to stop this offense. And I'm hoping, I'm praying, because I haven't looked and I haven't found out yet, but I'm hoping that Javon Holland and Zach Sealer are both playing in this one. Regardless, this is going to be a game of who can score the most points, and that's how every NFL game is played, but I don't see either defense really being able to stop either offense. As much as I like this Rams young defensive line, I think Mike McDaniel is smart enough and is going to scheme up some shit to confuse them. Their secondary is not very good. Hey, maybe this is the game where Tyreek and Waddle finally go off. I don't know. It's going to be tough. There's so many, again, and we haven't been here for a while, at least in my opinion, for the NFL, but there are so many important games being played right now, because even though the Dolphins are, what the fuck are we? We're 2-6. We're not completely out of it, because, and I said, and this might be a bold take, but I think that the way that the schedule and how tough teams are ahead, because I think I said it on Wednesday's show, where if we go 7-2 down the stretch, 9 wins I think gets you into that wild card spot. But honestly, I think that 8 might get it done. I think 8 wins for that final wild card spot might be able to do it. I think the Chargers are going to have one of those wild card spot locks up, and whoever between the Ravens or the Steelers, whoever doesn't win that division, will have the other one. And that leaves the Broncos, who are 5-4, the Bengals, who are 4-4, the Colts, who are 4-5 or 4-4, the Jets, who are 3-6, and the Dolphins, who are 2-5, 2-6, 2-6. That sounds right. Like, it's those two teams. They all have tough schedules, and they all aren't really that good right now. It is anyone's game, and I am really interested to see how this final wild card spot does shape up. But I don't know. The Dolphins have just had such a tough season. It is what it is. There's so many what ifs on the year right now. But yeah, this is going to be a really good game. I am very excited to sit down and watch this one. I hope the Dolphins win, but who fucking knows, really. Yeah, I think that'll do it for this episode, though. Good preview. Good covering all the deadline moves there. Yeah, I'm going to go make some shawarma for dinner. Very excited about that. But as always, if you have liked this, please like, share, retweet, subscribe, tell all your friends, and until next time, peace.